It's time for Commonwealth Commonsense with Susan Stimpson and Kevin Scholla.
Hello, Susan. How are you?
I am doing very well. Nice to be with you.
So an historic election on Tuesday night, a real message sent to Obama and all of the policies that have been coming out of Washington and also on state levels and local levels. Just a big night for the GOP. What's it all mean?
Well, for me here in Virginia, we opened up the polls. We were there by 6 a.m., and I was there pretty much all day until the polls closed down at 7. And the people that were coming through were definitely Republicans. They were motivated to be there, and they were frustrated and very angry and upset with the president and with the Democrat policies. But almost to the person, the next words out of their mouth, and paraphrasing, the Republicans better not mess this up, but I'm sure they will. So there isn't hope in many of the voters that the Republicans are going to be very different than what's happening right now in our government. But I'm hopeful that the Republicans will be, and I think we may have seen a wave of some different people that have won office, and I'm hoping that some of these people that are coming in, one of my personal favorites is Joni Ernst. I'm excited about her. But just this wave that they rode, I do feel the same as many of the voters that came through. I am very much hoping that the Republicans will take leadership.
I'm with you. Also a huge Ernst supporter. I was very happy to see her win and win, by a comfortable margin. What do you think about all of the history, too? I mean, on the Republican side, you have Mia Love, the first black Republican woman elected to Congress, Tim Scott, the first black senator from either party elected in the South since a long time. So a lot of things that we're seeing for the first time. Elise Stefanik, the youngest woman ever elected. And these are all coming from Republicans, the racist party of hate. So it's it was a big night in many ways.
So look, here's what I think about that. I think that the next generation is rising. And even here in Virginia, when I ran for lieutenant governor last year, I was the first woman to run statewide for a statewide office in 26 years. And in Virginia, we've only had one woman, and that was a Democrat, hold a statewide office. I think that you're seeing the next generation come into their place, and I think that it was an easy argument for Democrats to make. Republicans have come to this later in the game, and many of what we did see were older white males that were in the party, and we're still way behind. We still have a lot of attitudes, quite frankly, with a lot of these old guard Republicans who are in positions of leadership in the Republican Party right now. But the voters want something different, and the next generation is rising. So I think that you're going to see more and more of people of different ethnicities and more women and just a broader spectrum of the population. You're going to see the Republican Party continue to grow in that respect.
Now, the key is, will those elected and or reelected understand that this was a vote against Obama, not necessarily a vote for Republicans? So if it's a vote against Obama, you would think people want an opposite of Obama, which would be conservatism, not this moderate go-along to get-along situation. So will they go the way of McConnell and Boehner and same old, or will we have strong leaders like Lee and Cruz who have stood up and said, hey, listen, this next Attorney General nominee has to come out against amnesty right from the start? Will they jump on board with people like that, or will McConnell and Boehner still try to play the old-school country club politics?
I think that it's very difficult for the leaders that have been in office for decades to change their ways.
Yeah.
And even here in Virginia, when we had all three houses of government, what did we do with that supermajority in 2013? But they did the largest tax increase in Virginia's history. The instinct of elected officials, especially those that have been in office for a long time, the instinct is continue to grow government because that means that their power grows. I am hopeful, though, that just with a few people that are in Congress and in the Senate, and hopefully in some of these statewide offices, that just by having a few in there, that it will give more confidence to some of the other people that they serve with in office, to move our party and to move our nation and to move government where it belongs, and that is a smaller size so that the average person has the power to make decisions for themselves and for their family, and that it isn't big government doing it. We're seeing that big government policies are really destroying our economy and just destroying the spirit, I think, of many Americans. They're just working hard to just make ends meet. So I'm very hopeful that there are going to be some people that were just elected that aren't going to be afraid to push us, toward a more limited government.
You talked about what you heard from some people at the polls saying, okay, I'm glad the Republicans won, but now are they going to blow it? And they probably will. I think Sarah Palin echoed those sentiments, or at least warned of that, too, on social media. She wrote, the Democrats got mauled today, deservedly so. But then she says to prohibit them, or rather to prohibit that from happening to the GOP in 2016, it must learn the lesson from the last time Republicans held the Senate majority. This time they must not retreat, and it's our responsibility to hold them accountable. Will they fight for reform that aligns with the limited government planks of the Republican platform, or will they return to the big government cronyism and status quo favored by the permanent political class? And then with Palin style here, will they drain the swamp or decide the D.C. cesspool is really just a jacuzzi they can't wait to jump on into and shake us off? So, this is things you've talked about before, Susan, as far as will they be held accountable? Will they remember, the planks of the platform are there. The Republican Party is solid if you actually follow the planks of the platform, but so many don't.
Well, the difference of what I see here, at least in Virginia, and I don't think that it's very different nationwide, the Democrats, they actually believe in their platform, and they're very effective at fighting for it and moving our government to the left. The Republicans don't so much believe in the platform, because how you act and what you do is what you believe. And I think that I am as skeptical as many of the voters that I saw who came through the polls. But I do think that, one person can make a difference in each county, in each city, in each community, in each state, that we can do this one by one, and that we can start electing people that aren't afraid to lose campaign funds or to lose popularity with their fellow elected leaders, because the people really are just very, very much in search of elected leaders that are going to represent their interests in government. So I think that this election definitely sent a message. Hopefully the Republicans that are now in power, that they will take this win that they have and really move the Republican principles forward, because we know what the Republican principles do. They are prosperous principles. They allow people to be the best that God intends them to be.
Palin went on to say in her warning online, if GOP leadership returns to business as usual, then this majority will be short-lived, for we the people say once bitten, twice shy. So establishment types, remember that you didn't build this. This majority that swept you into power is thanks to the rank-and-file, common-sense conservative grassroots. That's who built it. They expect results. They deserve the best for America. Can't simplify it more than that.
It's true, and she's exactly right, and I saw it on Election Day. I just saw so many people who came out and who came to vote because they are so frustrated with what is happening with their government and their level of distrust, that they're hearing words, but they're not seeing action. And we blew it the last time the Republicans were in charge in the nation, and it's taken us a long time to come back to this, and a lot has happened since then. Our country has not improved its prosperity, at least economically. So we really can't afford to blow it this time.
All right, Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Susan Stimpson in Virginia. More Commonwealth Common Sense next week. Now our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Here's Sarah Steelman.
Thanks, Kevin. On November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall, which separated East and West Berlin and served as a symbol of the Cold War, fell. Sunday, November 9th, marked the 25th anniversary of that day. President Ronald Reagan's commitment and belief in the power of the human spirit yearning to be free was Reagan's motivation for defeating the Soviet Union. We all remember the famous line in his Brandenburg Gate speech, but the words that led up to the memorable sentence are a beautiful expression of the truth. And I'm quoting, "But in the West today, we see a free world that has achieved a level of prosperity and well-being unprecedented in all human history. In the communist world, we see failure, technological backwardness, declining standards of health, even want of the most basic kind, too little food. Even today, the Soviet Union still cannot feed itself after these 4 decades. Then there stands before the entire world one great and inescapable conclusion. Freedom leads to prosperity. Freedom replaces the ancient hatreds among the nations with comedy and peace. Freedom is the victor." And then he goes on. Perhaps this gets to the root of the matter, to the most fundamental distinction of all between East and West. The totalitarian world produces backwardness because it does such violence to the spirit, thwarting the human impulse to create, to enjoy, to worship. The totalitarian world finds even symbols of love and of worship an affront. President Reagan understood that freedom is inextricably tied to creativity and prosperity. Without freedom, the world would look like East Berlin and the old Soviet Union. Thankfully, President Reagan was unafraid to speak the truth for all the world to hear. Thank goodness for Ronald Reagan. This is Sarah Steelman from Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. The Palin Update, including Commonwealth, Commonsense, and Steel Resolve, is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook, and follow along on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Susan B. Stimpson, at Sarah_Steelman, and at 3DSTS. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Sarah Steelman, Susan Stimpson, and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Thomas Schmitz. And thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, 3D Security and Training Academy. Visit 3DSTA.com. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update right here on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.